Good morning. Thanks for having me today. This is Stacie Zuercher, and I'm here with Todd Hoodenpyle, who is with the Oregon State Police Sergeant for our Fish and Wildlife.
That's correct.
Right. Okay, I got it right. Things are starting out on the right track.
Mistakes. I like that. All right. Introduction's done.
Yeah. So how are you this morning? Thank you for being here.
Good. Thanks. We were talking this rain. Boy, that sure has quieted things down a little bit, hasn't it?
It has. I'm just hoping, we get it out of the way now for the parade on Saturday.
That's right.
We can live with it today, but
That's right.
Come on.
We definitely need some moisture, and in my work, we like to see water in the rivers. So,
right.
hey,
I was going to ask, are you dancing to the rain gods at this time of year?
Along with all the other fishermen.
Right.
It's really looking low out there before the rain started coming. So I don't think it's going to really probably bring a lot of the water levels up, but it's definitely going to bring the water temperatures down, which is good for fish. So,
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, teach me about what you do. How'd we get here?
Perfect. Well, I've been on the show quite often, but a lot of people don't even understand. When they see us, they think, they say, "Well, good thing I wasn't speeding," but I'm a supervisor for the State Police Fish and Wildlife Division,
sure.
And we are I'm one of 117 or 119 of us throughout the state that are tasked with protecting our natural resources.
Okay.
Now, I do have a responsibility. I am a trooper, and all the ladies and gentlemen that are driving the blue pickup trucks. They also have responsibilities as trooper, but their primary purpose is fish and wildlife enforcement. And
sure.
So,
if you got a lead foot, you're probably going to meet you potentially.
We still have ways to stop you other than radar. But we are, generally speaking, we're looking for fishermen and hunters or natural resource violations.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a typical day then in your life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing?
Crazy.
You're out.
How's
that? I like it. Sounds like you're on the move.
Well, it is. That's one of the beauties of this job. If you're a patrol officer on the highway, you're pretty much dedicated to dealing with traffic safety. But a fish and wildlife trooper, I often say it's the best job in the world, because one minute you could be on your way out to the ocean, you could go out in the ocean and patrol on one of our nice boats, and you'd be back on the beach again within a couple hours, and then you might have to help the patrol division with a traffic accident on Highway 101, and as soon as you're clear with that, then you got a poaching complaint up in the hills. And when you're done with that, if you got enough time left in your day, you may see somebody that's doing something crazy in front of you, and you have to stop them on the road. So you do everything from criminal investigations to traffic stops to fish and wildlife investigations. It's really to be a fish and wildlife trooper, you have to know a lot.
And it sounds like it's a good challenge for people, and there's going to be some positions coming open this summer, right?
So I've said this time and time again. At Tillamook, we've had kind of a revolving door, so to speak. I think on the fish and wildlife side of things, we are looking really good. In patrol, I think we're looking good too. It's tough to find people that want to stay in Tillamook, and I think we found some, which is really good. Fish and wildlife, I'm full staffed for the summer. This is the first time, I think, in a long time that I've had a full staffing of troopers to do fish and wildlife enforcement. Patrol, we actually have some people coming into the patrol division, and the key to this is that, I guess what I want to get out of that is that we always have openings in the state police at the Tillamook office. It may not be a fish and wildlife position. It may not be a patrol position. But
you can get your foot in the door,
right? Get your foot in the door, and then you can put your time in, and eventually, if you want to be a game warden, then you put your time in on the patrol side of things, and then eventually we might have a position for fish and wildlife and allow you in.
Right.
One of the things about hiring local is that you can't put a value on local knowledge.
Right. You understand the culture here.
You understand the culture. You understand where everybody shows up on Monday morning, where they're drinking their coffee.
Right.
You understand what's really important to the community out here. You know the road systems. You know where people live. You already know who a lot of the people we deal with are in the community. That kind of local knowledge is really tough. If you come from, let's say, out of Portland and you're assigned in Tillamook, it takes you years to you get your feet on the ground and figure out who's who and what's going on. And if you hire local people that already have that knowledge and have a vested interest in the community or the county in general, we're just worlds ahead. So into June, if somebody's really interested, you can go on Oregon State Police website. Okay. And on the website, if you you click on the job opportunities button, which is on the right-hand side of the website, it'll take you to, you can actually take virtual tours on the website through the Patrol Division, Fish and Wildlife, and Criminal Division, which gives you an opportunity to look at each one of our major divisions and see what interests you. If it interests you, you have an application process, and that's going to open up, I believe, at the end of June, according to the website.
That's great.
So we're going to have some positions opened up, and people can apply. And again, if you like one of those divisions, and let's say you make it through the process and you don't get the position you want,
right.
Take a position, because we always have positions opening up,
and there'll be changes. So.
There will be changes, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
you are cover Tillamook from Newport through Tillamook County, correct?
Yes, I cover for supervision. I supervise Newport office and the Tillamook office for Fish and Wildlife Enforcement.
Okay.
And I don't know if most people ask us, they see us and they say, "Why is the state police doing Fish and Wildlife?" I don't know if you even know that.
I don't actually.
So,
that's a great question. Go on.
Right. So most agencies, you'll see actually what they call game wardens. So if you go to Idaho or Washington, you'll see a game warden written on the side of their rigs. And there's 2 states that don't do that, as Alaska and Oregon. And where the state police does the Fish and Wildlife Enforcement, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, which is the biologists on 3rd Street, Herman Biederbeck and Robert Bradley and his staff, they're out there monitoring wildlife, looking at everything from herd numbers all the way to problem wildlife in the city. That's their job, and they have the state police do all the enforcement. So,
gotcha.
One of the things with that is that we have to stay completely in communication with those biologists all the time, because it's not like traffic law where 55 is 55.
Right.
As everybody knows, fishing regulations change all the time, and so do hunting regulations, and importance of different species change. So we have to communicate continually.
Here, aren't they they're tracking the herds, and they have little collars on some of them so that they can follow what's happening with
especially
them,
on the black-tailed deer project, where they're trying to determine the habitat and try to learn more about black-tailed deer in certain specific units. And we did have that in the trash unit. Without speaking out of turn, I think that actual monitoring has gone south to another unit. But they did get the data they wanted off the trash unit. But that's exactly right. That's what ODFW does. And if there's an enforcement issue, then state police takes care of that. We are absolute sisters, joined at the hip on everything wildlife related.
And then your mission is going to be to maintain the resource. So that's why you're out there. People report potential poaching and things like that. And so
it's the whole gamut. Right, because you can make all the rules you want.
Sure.
If there's not a referee out there making sure it's done fairly, then people will violate. And unfortunately, wildlife brings out sometimes the greedy side of human nature.
Right.
And that's when you have problems with populations, because it doesn't take very much for instance, a spotlighter to head outside of Tillamook and spotlight a couple nights and kill a variety of different animals, and you'll definitely see the herd numbers or the animal population drop. So it's really important to have enforcement out there too.
Sure.
And
so is this a big issue for Tillamook County in comparison to other counties?
Poaching? Or are you referring to wildlife violations? Well,
just violations in general.
As you know, the coast is full of wildlife
right.
and natural resources. Mm-hmm. It is. I joke about it. Tillamook County, and now that I supervise Lincoln County, it is always an opening day in Tillamook County.
Okay.
Literally. I mean, so, you know, it is a big issue in the fact that we have a huge transient population, and that's the valley, and that's people that don't live in Tillamook County, but come over here because of a variety of reasons. I mean, look at our beaches. Mm-hmm. Look at the same reasons you and me live here.
Right.
People come over to enjoy. So when you have that transient population show up, and it's not only on weekends anymore, it's pretty much 7 days a week to enjoy our natural resources, then you have issues, especially if the numbers are good. For instance, like salmon runs. Mm-hmm. You can always kind of weigh how the salmon runs are or the hunting is based on, or the population based on how many violations we start to see, because if the fishing's really good, our phones are ringing off the hook with problems too. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So it can be a problem. Some of those problems with wildlife aren't necessarily people that are criminally going out trying to steal stuff or trying to violate the laws. There is so much to know anymore when you hunt and fish. People need to educate before they go. I often say that. I want them to call me. I want them to call ODFW and ask questions before we have to do some form of enforcement on the riverbank or out in the ocean or in the woods.
So DFW being Department of Fish and Wildlife.
That's correct.
So you can go online, I'm sure, and you can call, and they welcome phone calls to clarify
there's
things.
So many different ways. You know, there's ODFW, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, has an office here on 3rd Street.
Right.
And you can pick up regulations there. Mm-hmm. You can ask any of those biologists. Kathy at the front desk there will answer any question. If she can't answer it, she'll call me.
Yeah.
I welcome anybody to call the state police office here in Tillamook, ask questions. You can go online. A lot of those questions can be answered online because ODFW's webpage has everything. Regulation you can think of. And the key to that is that when you check online, everything is current. Should be.
Right.
I'm not going to say there's no mistakes at all, but it's going to change. They'll change it online immediately. And I keep telling everybody, go online because that's the most current information. Now, some of those folks that don't necessarily go online all the time, they struggle with that a little bit because they want to see it in a printed version in their hands. And I understand that because I'm kind of one of those persons too. But always go online. Check those regulations before you go. We're
going to take just a short little break here. Are you ready to discover something new this summer? Well, now you can at Tillamook Bay Community College. This summer, TBCC is offering exciting new courses that will ensure your summer is adventurous, creative, and informative. Perhaps you'd like to step into the field of photography with local photographer Michael Kittel. You'll spend an hour in the classroom learning basic shooting techniques before heading out to Cape Kiwanda or Oceanside to put your skills to the test. Maybe you're looking for something a little more physical. TBCC has you covered. Train for a 5K with Headlight Herald editor and Neoconi track coach Chelsea Yarnell. She'll be helping students train to run their first 5K and just in time for the Tillamook Bay Run on August 13th. You'll learn proper running form, stretching, proper nutrition, and of course improve your fitness and overall stamina and endurance. Registration opens on May 16th, or you can go online at tillamookbaycc.edu to view the entire summer schedule and discuss what Tillamook Bay Community College has to offer for you. So this is Stacie Zuercher. I'm here with Todd Hoodenpyle, who is the I keep saying it with a little jump to step in my
enthusiasm.
And he's the sergeant for the Oregon State Police Fish and Wildlife, and is covering and telling us and helping me understand and a little bit more about what you do and why this is important for our community.
Yeah, so. And I couldn't believe I've already blown through 15 minutes.
I know, it goes really fast,
well, maybe I should take a break. Take a breath. One of the things that we back onto this, if people are really interested in knowing what we're doing throughout the state, because they're, you hear about stuff happening locally. This is happening everywhere. And if you really want to see the stuff that is happening to your natural resources or your wildlife, or you want to see some of the great cases that men and women of the state police have made, we actually, you can go onto the website again and you can click on the Fish and Wildlife newsletter every month. And I think you can actually subscribe to that. They'll send it to you, and it's every month. It's a compilation of all the key some really key cases throughout the state with some really neat photographs too that go with it and talk about issues we're dealing with. So yeah, so that's available to people too.
So you're out patrolling, you're up in the woods, you're out in the bay and out in the ocean. You're a little bit of everywhere, and I guess we have some the Guardian, the
Guardian.
Boat. Tell me about that.
Well, that's going to be there's going to be some real changes on the ocean this year. Tomorrow we are actually getting, it's new to us. It's actually coming out of Coos Bay, but it's going to be a bigger patrol vessel. If you fish for salmon on the ocean, you inevitably been checked by the state police, and we had an unmarked, it was a rigid hull inflatable. It's a nice boat. It's, it looks government. You can tell it's coming. But part of the reason we have those kind of boats is that visibility out on the ocean is huge too. Just having presence out there means a lot. I mean there's lots of times we can't contact boats, but just knowing there's an OSP patrol around that might see you doing wrong keeps people from doing something.
Right.
So we have actually Coos Bay boat, which is I think it's a 26-footer, is going to be coming up, and we're trading boats. So you're going to see a new look on OSP out in Tillamook Bay and out on the ocean. There'll be actually a fully marked. It'll say State Police across the side of it. It's going to be a nice looking boat. It's a safer platform for our troopers to be working out of, because Tillamook Bay Bar, if not the worst one in the state of Oregon, it's one of the
right up there,
one or two.
Yeah.
Bars restricted a lot. There just as further north you go, the worse the ocean seems to get, and a bigger patrol vessel, which would allow us to be safer out at the Halibut Grounds, which are 25, 28 miles offshore, and even checking tuna fish.
I don't know if I knew that, but I do now.
Yeah. It's a Halibut Hill, which is a substantial distance away.
Oh, okay.
And, if you have to go out after tuna fishermen, or you're dealing with any of the commercial fleet, you have to go offshore quite a ways. And so
Right.
it's going to be nice to have a stable, safe platform for the troops there. But the Guardian.
So people can expect to be out there, if they're fishing out there, they might be seeing you guys patrolling around, stopping to check in and make sure they're doing everything right. And
we have always done that before. And Jessica, I tell people, just because you haven't been checked by us doesn't mean that we're not there and around. Because
and paying attention.
we monitor the ocean fishery pretty heavily. It's used by the public heavily, so therefore we need to be out there making sure everything's going good. The Guardian now. Yes.
It sounds tough.
Well, the Guardian. If you haven't seen it, occasionally it'll show up, and it's I think a month ago it spent quite a while out of Garibaldi, docked up at the Coast Guard station. It's a blue and white vessel. It's our commercial enforcement vessel, and it's actually a really nice looking boat. They've done a great job on it, and it does all of our enforcement of commercial fisheries offshore. So it is big enough that we are able to pull crab pots. Seize a substantial amount of crab pots if we need to. It can go out and pull long lines. We have a smaller boat that's on that Guardian that we can dump into the water and actually make contact with some of our commercial boats. Some of our smaller, like salmon troll boats, so we can check them to make sure they're in compliance too. So that has a crew that is made up of troopers up and down the coast. And as you know, you can't just throw anybody on a big boat like that and just expect them to know what they're doing. There's specific people that are licensed to be the captains that do a great job and safe operation of that boat. But then you also have people that have been trained in the operation of how to pull crab pots and how to put our smaller Zodiac into water and how to board boats while they still fish, stuff like that. So that crew you'll see up and down the coast too. So
that's fantastic.
It's a great looking vessel. So.
And then is there other special equipment you guys need and are using out in the woods as well, or how does that all work? You guys are just cruising around, or you hear something, if somebody calls the hotline, you just go for it.
Well, there's two of the things there. You're talking about the hotline. I want to throw a pitch out there. The Turn Poacher Hotline, which is on the back of everybody's hunting and fishing license, it's got a 1-800 number, 1-800-452-7888. And if you don't know it, you can look it up online. It's on the back of the hunting and fishing licenses. It's in every regulation.
Okay.
And people that see stuff that they don't like, that they know are violations of law, can report that to that phone number, and they can also remain anonymous. And we have tip rewards available, particularly for the big game animals. So we do. People turn information into us, and we'll work areas that we know there's a problem area.
Yeah.
But you don't get the joy of just driving around aimlessly in the woods. And I know no matter how much fun that sounds.
I thought they were cruisers.
One of the things that really with Tillamook, we are so fish heavy. And I mean by that because everything is fish related in Tillamook. When hunting season rolls around, we're really busy. And on off season, we still have issues up there. But we meet every year with ODFW biologists, and we actually sit down and we determine what species are really important each year we need to be working on, and what times of the year we need to be working on those species. So, for instance, the troopers all know that it's June right now, and they've got a list of different species and hot buttons they need to be working on.
Really?
And it's not.
Sounds like it is a science then.
Well, it isn't. It ain't rocket science because generally all those hot buttons, we have lots of complaints associated with them. So, for instance, like this time of year, the Trask hatchery, we have spring Chinook in the river, and so when the ocean fisheries, if the ocean's not rough and we're not out there, then we need to be working on some of these salmon issues.
Okay.
Like the hatcheries. The hatcheries always have snagging that goes along with them.
Right.
And so, it sounds like, well, a person needs to open up a book to find out where he needs to patrol. That's not necessarily the case. Most everybody knows where they need to be going anyways, and they do that. So we do sit down, and we do have a method to our madness. We sit down and determine what's important and what times of the year it's important and where we should be going. So, and that's outside of when you're not taking calls from the public. Public takes priority, of course.
Sure. And so what I like about that, you can call in. It is anonymous. You're helping to maintain the integrity of the environment here, which is very important.
Yes, absolutely.
And it also sounds like if it were me, it's better to call even if you don't know. Even if you're asking yourself why or taking pause, like that doesn't seem right. It's worth the call.
So it was funny on this last elk season. This is a prime example how things happen. Some hunters saw something they thought was very awkward the day before season.
Okay.
So they report this to the Turn Poacher Hotline, and a couple days later, I run into them, and I'm working on an elk case involving that same incident. Okay. But I don't know they're connected, and I run into them again, and they said, "Hey, did you get that turn-in poacher report? And I was, yeah. Well, once we had a chance to talk to them a little bit more, it was the same incident.
Really?
So what I'm getting at is that just because you don't know that necessarily that's a violation of law and it may not be that important to us, that might be exactly what we're looking for. Had those hunters not reported what they saw and had the conversation with me, we would have never been able to make that case.
It's a puzzle.
Yeah, it was a puzzle. And sometimes we work months and then we'll find out information from somebody that says, yeah, I was driving up on a road system where I saw that vehicle parked along the river and it was a red Toyota, and all of a sudden the bells go off and it's, oh, red Toyota, and they give description of the people.
Right.
It's really important that if you think it's unusual and it's causing you pause,
yeah,
call it in. Let us determine whether it's important or not, because the moment you don't call it in is the time we need that information,
And don't try and obviously approach the person or
no. I mean,
like
we're not asking anybody to be game wardens out there. We're asking people to just be vigilant, whether it's on the highways with highway issues or whether it's in the woods or on the riverbanks. If you see something that you don't like and you think you need to report it, the best thing you can do is be a good observer and give us the information that you saw. Vehicle
You're like
license.
a CSI out there.
Absolutely.
I
wish it was as simple as the show, but it's not. Give us the information that, like license plates and what people look like. License plate number is huge and critical, and lots of people get the detail of the vehicle to the driver down to a T, and they'll forget the license plate number.
Right.
But the license plate number really is necessary to get.
It's the deal breaker sometimes.
It is.
So,
absolutely.
Well, we're going to take another short break because I'm really enjoying talking with you, Todd. The clock's ticking, and it's bumming me out. We have so much to talk about. So tickets will be on sale at the Pioneer Museum for a Step Back in Time beginning this Saturday. The $20 for those 12 and over. Tickets allow admission to Garibaldi Maritime Museum, Latimer Quilt and Textile Center, Northwest Old Iron Club Show, the Tillamook Air Museum, and the International Police Museum of Rockaway Beach, and the Tillamook County Pioneer Museum, plus a ride on the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. Children between the ages of 3 and 11 accompanied by a parent with a Step Back in Time ticket will need to pay a $3 surcharge to ride the train, but are free for all other venues. The Cape Mears Lighthouse and the Tillamook Forest Center round out the third weekend in August. And find out more at Tillamook Coast History Alliance website, tchistoryalliance.org. So that's kind of neat. People can do a little Mary tour around the county and learn about all this history and take a step back in time. I didn't realize there was a police museum in Rockaway Beach. So sounds like I need to pay the $20 and go do that tour so I can figure out what's going on. So again, this is Stacie. I'm here with Todd, and we're talking about fish and wildlife. We've covered so much great information, but there's always just a little bit more. So what have we missed today?
Well, we missed a couple. Well, I'll just, because I know we're running low. I apologize. I get to talking, and you can't get me to stop.
I'm glad you're here.
We're starting. We're rolling right into our Oregon recreational salmon seasons out in the ocean, and let me throw a plug. I just talking to the biologists right off the cuff. They look like we're gonna have a good Chinook season this year inland. So you could look for some pretty good fishing, equal to last year, maybe even a little better. But we're looking into a coho salmon season that's going to kick off here very shortly. And one of the things that I remind everybody that goes out in the ocean is that barbed hooks. I don't know how many people we run into that are using barbed hooks out in the ocean.
Okay.
When you're fishing for ocean salmon, you have to, or you have a salmon on board, you have to have barbless hooks on. And it's so simple to...
Why is that?
It's for release. So when we put together, along with ODFW and National Marine Fisheries, and everybody gets involved to decide whether or not we're going to have a coho salmon season and how many fish are going to be allowed, they have a mortality rate that they calculate in. So if they give you a quota, and let's say we didn't have barbed hooks, for instance, there's going to be a higher mortality rate on the fish, and there'll be less fish for us to actually acquire or have in our quota. So everything the feds have put out there is a barbless hook rule. And it's, you do lose some fish using barbless hooks. But one of the big things for me as enforcement is that I know how the quota system works, and I know how important it is to make sure that we're using barbless hooks. But it's also, again, talk about that referee part of things. When I'm out in the ocean and you see somebody who's using non-barbed hooks and they're filling their they're filling their their fish box full of fish, while somebody who's doing it legally is right next to them and they're having trouble keeping fish on.
Yeah,
it's all about fairness at that point. It's not only does it have a biological issue,
the playing field.
Right, but that's why we're out there to make sure that not only are they following the regulations, but everybody is. So that's really important. And another thing is that when you're out there, make sure you tag your fish.
Okay.
Halibut, anything in the ocean that requires a validation on your tag it immediately before you go back to fishing, because we run into people at the Halibut Grounds too that don't validate their fish till they get back at the docks. That's not when you do it, because that's when you ultimately end up with a citation from us.
Right.
We have zero tolerance on that, especially when you start
just
looking.
Like tagging your elk when you get it, right?
Yeah,
Same kind of
absolutely. There's too much abuse when we don't make people validate their tags.
Sure.
Another thing is that we're getting close to, and it hasn't happened yet, but bear season will be rolling around. And I mean by bear season, not hunting bears, but we have problem bears in Tillamook County. Specifically, there's some specific hot spots, but what happens is that bears become very used to humans and the trash cans and the bird feeders. And I throw this out every time I'm on this show that if you start to see signs of bears, specifically in the late part of the summer when things start to dry out up in the woods, and you start noticing either maybe bears even seeing them on your property or on your porch or eating your dog food or they're in your trash, there's lots of things you can do so that that bear doesn't have to become my issue or ODFW's issue.
Sure. And
we potentially can get that bear back out in the woods. And one of those things that ODFW talks about and myself is that take away the food source. So simple. So simple. Your trash can, maybe don't leave it out at night times. Put it in your garage. Bird seed, you may have to pick up the bird seed, because if you just keep filling it up and the bear shows up every night, you're not solving anything. You clean up your bird seed. Fruit, when fruit hit the ground, you really want to make sure you're cleaning up the fruit, because otherwise those bears just keep coming in.
It's like a potluck.
Once
barbecue time.
Once they become habituated to your house, they don't stop, it seems like, especially when they're hungry. And if they got cubs, they're teaching their cubs the wrong way to go after food, too. And they have
this sense of smell that's amazing, so they're going to, if you keep that food out, they're going to know it.
Right? They could smell it for miles. For miles away.
Yeah.
And it seems like we have areas that are always hot. Pacific City, for some reason, has a fair amount of bears that like to come into the city limits, and Bay City has the same thing. And when I talk to people about, hey, I think I got a bear on my porch at night, the best thing to do is just get rid of the food sources, and more likely it'll leave. But if you have a bear, and this happens occasionally, not very often, but you have one that will not leave, potentially has shown some threatening behavior, which means snapping or trying to hold its ground on your porch, for instance, then you probably need to call law enforcement, and we'll come out there and take care of it.
I can crack the code right now. It's always the lifelong debate. If you come across a bear in the woods, do you play dead or do you run like hell? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, in this case here, you go back in your house and you call us if the bear doesn't want to leave, But
I have a few announcements to make this morning. Let's see here. Our sponsors for today's show were Tillamook Bay Community College and the Pioneer Museum. We have happy birthdays to Roxine Trotter, Chris Cattell, and Rose Wilson. Happy anniversary to Bill and Vicki Goodman. And looks like on Monday, State Representative David Gomberg will be here. And then senior meals, noon every weekday at the Kiwanda Center in Pacific City. The cost is $3 for seniors and $6.75 for any other guests. Tonight, Thursday night, Manzanita Fireworks booth opens from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. I can't believe it's already fireworks season, and we're thinking about those things. What's happening? Friday, 5:30 to 9, the barbecue and bingo benefit for Shelley Bowes medical expenses will take place at Bay City Art Center. There's going to be some great food and fun on there. I think it's $10 at the door, and all that money again goes to help Shelley with her medical expenses. Friday is also the opening of Tapa's hilarious adult comedy Vanya and Sonia and Mesha and Spike. I don't know what that is, but it sounds hilarious just to say it. So get your tickets at Diamond Art Jewelers before they sell out. That phone number is 842-7940. And that comedy runs through July 10th. And you can also pick up more information at tillamooktheater.com. Friday and Saturday is the annual Rockaway Beach Pirate Festival. And Saturday, of course, is June Dairy Parade. And so the milk run, the parade, and rodeo will be taking place. And then the final day of the rodeo is on Sunday. So again, Todd, thank you so much for being here. Did we cover everything we needed to cover?
Well, we have lots of stuff we can continue on, but we'll leave that for next time. Well, but I thank you for letting me come here.
Thank you for being here.
And I look forward to seeing everybody out there on the rivers.
Yeah, well, take care.
Okay, thank you.